afternoon and welcome back. Today we're going to be looking at grouping symbols in the order of operations. So let's get started. Today, welcome back. Our objective is to use the order of operations and grouping symbols. And so we're going to start by defining grouping symbols. We've already talked a little bit about them in previous videos, so if you haven't watched the previous video, please do so. The 1.11, I believe, is what Algebra 1 video 1.11, I believe is what that video is. So we're going to jump back into that. We're going to start with grouping symbols, do a couple examples because we talked about it. So it's just a little review, and then we're going to move into the order of operations. So let's get started with grouping symbols. Grouping symbols, these are symbols used to group your values or your terms. We aren't really talking about terms right now, but we will get there. So right now, this definition will work. Symbols used to group values or terms. What you will see most often that we'll be working with is parentheses. So here are your examples. We're going to have parentheses. I may use these not today, but I'm introducing them now because at some point we will. Brackets. Or braces. And yes, my braces look really wicked, but we will be using those, and most of the time we're using these groupings, and what you need to be thinking about is multiplication. So we're definitely grouping so we can do things at one time, but a lot of times multiplication is where we're going with that. All right, let's look at an example. And the directions for this example is going to be to evaluate. I'm going to come over here. I'm not going to erase yet. Evaluate. Picking up where we left off from the other day. We're going to start with an example 1, since this is the first example of this video, but it is the concept that we were working with in the last video. So m times 3 plus n, closing that parentheses, for m equals 5 and n equals 2. Whoops, going to end again. N equals 2. Make sure I'm in space. Okay, cool. All right, so the first thing we need to do, we're evaluating. The first thing we know we need to do is to substitute in those variables. And we'll take those variables out, substitute them in with the numbers that they represent. So I'm going to rewrite the problem, m times 3 plus n. And now I'm going to start with substitutions. I know that m is equal to 5, so I'm going to rewrite that. I'm going to use my grouping symbol of parentheses. I'm going to rewrite the 3, rewrite the operation of addition, but the n I'm not going to rewrite because I know that it is equal to 2, so I'm going to put a 2 there. At this point, I have enough information I can begin to calculate. You know, that's in value evaluation. That's the second step, calculating. So I want to start by calculating 3 plus 2. So 3 plus 2 is 5, 3, 4, 5. And then at this point, again, grouping symbol, multiplication. We're not going to write the symbol between those, but there is a multiplication dot, an X. Those are the things we like to use. The operation is multiplication. So 5 times 5 is 25. So if we are evaluating m times 3 plus n for m equals 5 and n equals 2, then our solution will be 25. Let's move on to another example just for more practice. Example number 2. Example number 2, just to keep us warm. Example number 2, we're going to have 3 plus 6x in those parentheses, 4x equals 4. So we're only substituting one variable in this moment, and we're going to jump right in there. So rewrite the problem, 3 plus parentheses 6x. We know that that is multiplication. We don't write that symbol, but we know what it is. We're going to rewrite the 3, rewrite the operation of plus. We're going to open those parentheses 6 times, because again, we don't want it to be 64. We don't want to rewrite the number, just put it there. We want to make sure to put something so that we know the operation between the 6 and the 4. Take the x out, substitute it with the 4, and now we have something that we can actually calculate. Can't do anything with that 3 in this moment, so 3 plus, but what we can do is 6 times 4, which is 24. And then now we can simplify this one more time, so 24, 25, 26, 27 is our solution when 3 plus 6x is evaluated for x equals 4. And hopefully I'm not moving too fast. Let's do one more with the substitution process using grouping symbols, and then we're going to move on to PEMDAS. I'm going to talk about PEMDAS, so I'm saying it like you know what it is. Slowing down. The order of operations. Ooh, that's what we're going to talk about. Ooh. So example number 3 is going to be 2a plus b over 5. And yes, I love the ones with multiple variables. A equals 4 and b equals 2. We're still under the directions of evaluate. Okay, so let's substitute in our values. We're going to rewrite the problem. 2a plus b over 5 is equal to 2. Now for me, I'm going to use parentheses so that I know what the operation is. So 2 times a is equal to 4. Close that parentheses. Write the plus. B is a variable. I know what it's equal to. Substitute what it actually equals. That's a 2 all over 5. At this point, I put in all the values that I have, and I can actually start to calculate. So let's go there. 2 times 4 is 8. So 8 plus 2 all divided by 5. I have to simplify one more time before I can deal with this division symbol, and that's going to give us 10 divided by 5, and that is still not in simplest terms. So one more time, 10 divided by 5, 10 divided by 5 is 2. So our final answer, when we evaluate 2a plus b divided by 5 for a equals 4 and b equals 2, is 2. And hopefully you were with me. All right, now let's move into the order of operations because we need to discuss that and what they are. The order of operations. And I'm gonna go ahead and give you the whole order of operations. We are not gonna, in most cases, we're not gonna see all of these steps, but I wanna give it to you the way that you should see it. So let's start with the order of operations. Writing this down. Again, hopefully we are writing notes as I am writing. Okay, so the first thing we want to do when we are working with order of operations, and from now until as you're dealing with problem solving, you want to make sure to pay attention to order of operations and grouping symbols and such. And then we're going to talk about calculators to make sure that your calculator, which I believe most calculators at this point do follow the order of operations, but there is a way to check, and we're going to talk about that. So let's go back to the order of operations. The first thing we want to look for is our grouping symbol. So we want to compute within grouping symbols. So first step, if you see parentheses, if you see brackets, braces, those are the first places we want to start to simplify in our equations or our problems. So we're going to do that first. The second thing we want to look for is to compute powers. Or another word for powers is exponents. I am not going to go into that right now because that's not where we are. I'm going to skip over that because we won't see that step today. Although I'm going to kind of breeze through it to make sure that we follow the same steps of checking. We're not going to be dealing with powers or exponents today. We are, however, going to be multiplying and dividing, because the next thing you look for is multiplication. So you multiply and divide. Multiply and divide in order from left to right. And we will discuss that when we can actually put that in with an example. 4, the last thing we're going to look for is add and subtract. Addition and subtraction. So you want to add and subtract in order from left to right. Now, what a lot of us are comfortable with, there's an acronym to help you remember the order of which you're going to do those order of operations, and it is PEMDAS. P-E-M-D-A-S. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So please, for parentheses and grouping symbols, excuse, I'm going to write that, my dear Aunt Sally. So please excuse dear Aunt Sally. I don't know what she did to deserve that, but we want to please excuse our dear Aunt Sally. That's how you remember the order of operations and how they should flow. So that is an acronym, and hopefully it will help you remember what should happen. So let's look at some examples of when to apply the order of operations and how you apply the order of operations. So we're going to be on example number 4. Example number 4. Example number 4. Okay, so let's start with 12 plus 3. So we want to simplify. Our directions here are going to be to simplify. Simplify 12 plus 3 minus 7 times 2 plus 8. All right, so we want to simplify those numbers. Now, we won't talk about the calculator right now. We're going to go in there. So we're going to look at that. We're going to check first to see, do we have any grouping symbols? So any parentheses, braces, brackets, we don't. So we don't see that at all. We're going to check to see if we have any powers. We do not have any powers or exponents. That's going to be the small numbers at the top. That probably indicate, well, it doesn't mean you have a variable, but we don't see those either. We do, however, have multiplication and division. So that's where we begin. So if you notice, there's multiplication right there. That dot represents multiplying, so that's the first piece that we actually have to begin operating with. Now we have this minus 7. What I like to do is I like to change that to plus the opposite to make sure that the 7 is actually negative when we start calculating things. So I'm going to rewrite that for those purposes. So 12 plus 3 plus negative 7 times 2 plus 8. That's for me to make sure that I know signs attached to the correct numbers. Okay, so we're going to begin with multiplication, which means this is the first thing that we do. So we're going to rewrite the 12. We're going to rewrite the plus 3. We're going to add, because we're going to now do negative 7 times 2, which is negative 14. So that becomes minus 14 plus 8. And I know that's a lot. And maybe I need to put this parentheses so we know that that's a minus 14. I'm going to go ahead and fill that in so it's not dotted. And from here, we move from left to right. Now, this can be done in the calculator, but there are certain assessments where you can't use a calculator, and there are times where you can't use the calculator. So I want to make sure that we know how to do this. So now we're done with multiplication and division because we have no division. We've calculated all of the multiplication, and now we're moving on to the addition and subtraction. So since we have multiple steps with addition and subtraction, we do that from left to right. So I start by adding 12 plus 3. That changes to 15. Now I can change this back to minus 14, or I can keep it plus negative 14 for the sake of argument. I'm going to do minus 14 and add 8. Now I'm going to combine these two values. So 15 minus 14 is 1 plus 8. And now I'm going to finalize my answer, which is going to give us 9. So moving from left to right, working with the order of operations, our final solution for that problem is 9. Let me erase and let's do another problem. Example number 6. Example number 6. Oh no, example number 5. Example number 5. Let's go with 4 plus 12. We're still with the directions of simplifying. Times 2 minus 8 divided by 4. And I like this one because it has multiplication and division in more than one spot. So we can work on that left to right thing. We're going to work on that left to right thing. Okay, so we're looking for parentheses. We have none. So order of operation PEMDAS. Parentheses, grouping symbols, we have none. E, exponents, powers, we have none. Multiplication and division, we have 2 different spots. We have multiplication here. We have multiplication, division here. And maybe I should have done that in another color. Okay, so we have multiplication here. We have division here. Now, the thing with that is I have to go in steps. So let's start from left to right. So I'm going to start by doing the 12 times 2. So I rewrite the 4. Bring that down. Bring down the plus. 12 times 2 is 24 minus 8 divided by 4. So now that I've taken care of the first multiplication or division, now I have to take care of the next multiplication of division. So that would be the negative 8, and I'm going to change the sign so that, yes, it is a subtraction 8 minus 8, but you want to make sure that the proper sign is associated when you start calculating this operation between this number and this number. So I'm going to rewrite that. So 4 plus 24 plus negative 8 divided by 4, because this is the next thing that we need to calculate. That's the next thing we need to calculate. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Negative 8 divided by 4 equals negative 2. So I did that on the other side. A negative divided by a positive is a negative. So now I'm going to rewrite this. So 4 plus 24, we can either do plus negative 2 or minus 2. I'm going to do minus 2. And now we are ready to simplify again. Hopefully I'm not moving too fast. Let's keep going. So 4 plus 24, because now we're simplifying from left to right. So I start here. 4 plus 24 is 28 minus 2. 28 minus 2 is 26. So our final answer is 26, using the order of operations. Now let's talk about calculators for a moment before I do the final example. Just so you know, because you do need to check if you're using a calculator, and let's just talk about what happens if you don't use the order of operations. I'm going to show you a problem. So let's do 3 times 4. So this is just, you're checking your calculator. So let's look at 3 plus 4 times 2. If you do not use the order of operations in this problem, and I'm going to not use the order of operations, I'm just going to work from left to right. 3 plus 4 is 7, so I'm going to work down. 3 plus 4 times 2. 3 plus 4 is 7 times 2. That gives you 14. So that is without using the order of operations. Now let's use the order of operations with this same problem of 3 plus 4 times 2. And let's see what happens. So we have the 3 plus 4 times 2. Using the order of operations, no parentheses, no exponents, but we do have multiplication, so I should start here. I should start here. So what should be is 3 plus 8, and 3 plus 8 is 11. So when you're putting in, so let's say you put 3 plus 4 times 2 in your calculator and you get 14, then your calculator is not following the order of operations, so you need to be very careful about how you input the information. Now if you get 11, then your calculator does use the order of operations, so you kind of don't necessarily have to use it per se because the calculator does it for you, but you just need to be conscious of what's going on. So again, hopefully your calculator will output 11 if you put 3 plus 4 times 2, just so you'll know that you're working with a calculator that actually follows the order of operations, because that's very important. The calculator is not smarter than you. The calculator was created as a quick way to do calculations, but the brain is the initial calculator. So at the end of the day, if you tell the calculator to do something wrong, it's going to do it. It only knows how to do what you tell it to do. So you have to make sure that it is doing what it's supposed to do and that you tell it to do the right thing when you start talking about your answers. Moving forward, let's do one more example of the order of operations to see how that works out. Example number 6. What I'm going to erase? Example number 5. Okay, example number 6 is 4y. Yes, so this one has 3 variables. Nice, right? Way too much, I know, but we're gonna get through it. So let's start by substituting all of our variables in. That's a lot, I know. So we're gonna change this, y is equal to 2. So 4y, well, I'm gonna do this 4y over 4y. I said I'm gonna rewrite the problem, I'm gonna do that. 2x plus y minus 3z equals to 4 times 2 divided by 4 times 2 plus 2 times x is equal to 3 plus 2 close parentheses minus 3 times 1. I know that was a lot. I know that was a lot. And you can still see me, so that's good. All right, so let's begin calculating that. So we first have some parentheses. Let's start there. Now what I can do, because we've got the 4 times 2, 4 times 2, we can go ahead and at least multiply that and kind of simplify that a bit in this step. So 4 times 2 is 8 divided by 8 plus, in this parentheses, we want to calculate what's on the inside of the parentheses. So 2 times 3 is 6. And I'm going to go slow, plus 2 minus, and 3 times 1 is 3. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. So negative 3. At this point, we still need to go back to those parentheses because we still have parentheses and simplify in there first. But what we can do is anything over itself is 1. So 8 divided by 8 is 1. I can simplify that one more time. I'm not actually calculating, more so than I'm just simplifying in this point, because that can be written as something much simpler than 8 divided by 8. So 1 plus, we want to go ahead and add the 6 and the 2. So that is 8. 6 plus 2, 6, 7, 8 is 8 minus 3. Now we only have addition and subtraction, so we know that's the last step of PEMDAS. And we're going to go ahead and simplify that from left to right. So 1 plus 8 equals 9. Do just those two. And 9 minus 3 equals 6. So our final answer, substituting in 3 variables, is going to be 6 and utilizing the order of operations. Thank you so much for your time. Hopefully everything works and you understand, and hopefully I didn't make any mistakes. I don't know. I'm doing my best. This is the first time for today. But please subscribe, please share. Thank you so much for your time. More to come. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.